Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public hearing for June 21st. We have a virtual public hearing. Public hearing is being broadcast on channel 96 Comcast and channel 6032. Public hearings, or I'm sorry, channel 6032. Welcome, everyone. With us, my name is Shirley Surgeon, and I am the chair of the public hearing meeting. And joining me at the public hearing, or joining us, will be Councilman Sanchez, Councilman Nick LeBron, and as other council members join in, I will announce them. So again, welcome everyone, welcome guests to the June 21st public hearing. Normally, public hearings are done about the third Monday of each month at 7 p.m. There are some rules that goes along with public hearing, and I'm going to kind of summarize it for all the speakers that we have. We have about 4 or 5 persons going to be speaking on different issues on the agenda, and I will read those off in a few minutes, but just want to go over the rules regarding the public hearing. Every speaker is given 5 minutes. During the public hearing, members of the Common Council, you may address the Common Council regarding any item on the agenda. Make sure that any person making personal or slanderous remarks or is boisterous while addressing the council shall forthwith be barred by the residing officer, which is me. So during the public hearing, there shall be no debate by the council, although questions may be asked by the council member of the person making the presentation. So seeing that we only have a few items, I'm going to be a little bit more lenient and not stick with the 5 minutes, especially if council members basically have lots of questions with the item on the agenda. So I'm going to read you the items that are on the agenda for the council meeting tonight of June 21st. And the way the public hearing works is normally people speaking on the different items are either in support or not in support of an item. So normally if we were in person, what we would do is when we read the first item, we would call the person who's in support, they will speak. Then we'll call the person who's not in support on that item will speak. But because we're doing it virtually, and everyone have signed up and told us in advance where you stand, I believe I'm looking at the list, everyone is in support of the item. So I'm not going to go through asking anyone if they're not in support because you're nice to tell us in advance. So again, we have 3 items on the agenda for the public hearing. The first item is a resolution authorizing the transfer of 11 city-owned properties to the Hartford Land Bank as part of their Lot Next Door program. And that resolution was transferred to us by Mayor Bronin. The second item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the sale of a blighted property at 213-215 Lawrence Street to a Mr. Aaron Gill of Wolverine Property LLC. As you may know, Mr. Gill is a committed local resident and developer and chair of the Frog Hollow Neighborhood Revitalization Zone. The third item on the agenda, is a resolution from Mayor Bronin authorizing the city of Hartford to enter into a 10-year tax abatement agreement with Zion Park MF2 LLC to support affordable rental housing located at 602 and 608 Zion Street, 833, 841, 851, and 863 Park Street, Hartford, Connecticut, known as the Zion Park Apartment. So those are the 3 items on our agenda tonight. And up to speak on any one of those 3 items, we have Chelsea Mancini. Chelsea, are you here? You will just need to unmute yourself and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shirley. Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea Mancini, and I'm here in support of the property sale to Aaron Gill, the second item on the agenda. My family has owned or owns Red Rock Tavern on Capitol Avenue, and we have been in the neighborhood next to Lawrence Street for nearly 50 years now. And since Aaron moved to the neighborhood about 8 years ago, he's been nothing but a wonderful neighbor. He's always a friendly face to see. He's consistently lending a hand to his neighbors. And he's always looking to build relationships with the people in the community to better understand the wants and the needs of the people. Since he's joined our neighborhood about 8 years ago, we've seen many positive additions to the commercial spaces and the residential spaces within the neighborhood. Aaron's done a tremendous job at connecting the residents within the neighborhood, the tenants of his properties, with the businesses in the neighborhood. So we're fully in support of Aaron for the sale.
Okay, great, Chelsea. And I want to thank you and your family for doing business in the city for so long. That is awesome. Have you actually, were you working there, or you?
You work
in the business?
Yeah, basically since I could walk, I'd say. I've been there my whole life, and I also work there present day. So it's
well, thank you, and thank your family for staying with our city and supporting us. And thank you very much for your eloquent words on that issue. Okay, so the next person up, I'm so sorry. Is there any questions from any of the council members? I apologize, council members. Seeing no questions?
I have my hand up, Madam Chair.
Oh, Councilman Gale, I didn't see you. I apologize, sir.
It's okay.
Please, yep, okay. All right, go ahead, sir. Please.
I have no question. I just want to mention to Chelsea, and I don't know quite her relationship, but I know she's related to Nick, Taddy, and Yolanda. And they both went to Hartford High with me, so I've known your whole family in the Red Rock forever. So thank you very much for those kind words for Aaron, Chelsea.
Okay, great. Thank you again, Chelsea.
And tell them I said hi.
I will.
So we're being joined also the public hearing by Councilman John Gale. Okay, next up in support of 213 Lawrence Street is Marcus. And Marcus, I'm going to mess up your name. So can you unmute yourself and please pronounce your last name for me?
Sure, no problem. It's Ordonez.
Thank you, Marcus Ordonez. And please, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening. As you mentioned, I am in support of the sale of 213 Lawrence Street to Aaron Gill. I've been a neighbor of Aaron's for the last 4 years. I started as just a resident in the neighborhood, and I've recently purchased a property in Frog Hollow. And throughout that time, I've only seen great things that Aaron has done for the neighborhood, both, as Chelsea mentioned, for the commercial spaces as well as the residential spaces, and always willing to engage the community and bringing everyone together on how we can improve things as one unit. It's not just one group that's going to make the change. He's been really good about engaging everyone in that conversation. And Aaron also continues to be a fierce advocate for both Frog Hollow and Hartford overall. If there are events happening in the city, he's always making sure to promote everything that's going on in the city. And he's just been a great advocate. We've been able to see, at least in my 4 years of being a neighbor of his, I've seen how successful he's been at rehabilitating blighted properties. And I'm excited that he is interested in taking on another project, because I know that it's just going to be a further positive change for our neighborhood. So I'm in support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marcus. Any questions? If I can't see you, council members, please just let me know. I've got just one question for you, Marcus. So you live on Lawrence Street?
I live on Capitol Avenue currently.
Okay. So you're part of the neighborhood?
Yes. Yeah. And I recently purchased a property on Babcock. Apologies.
Oh, okay. So, and are you part of the NRZ in Frog Hollow?
I am a voting member of the NRZ. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much for your faith in our city. Thank you for much for letting us know your opinion on this item.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Mr. Betancourt. I apologize, sir. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Surgeon, honorable members of the council. It is indeed much easier to speak at this time because the preceding speakers are in support of my position too, so that makes it easier. But I would like to raise a number of other points. I have known Mr. Gill and his family, and I'm a resident at 6 Park Terrace. So not only he is a terrific individual human being, family member, but also he has invested in this portion of Frog Hollow. And everything that he touches is like the Midas touch. I wrote and co-sponsored and co-wrote a letter on behalf of the Frog Hollow NRC with Mary Lee Morrison, and we pointed that he was the court-appointed receiver of the property, and immediately after that, you can see the improvement that he has made there. In addition, he has another property on Lawrence Street that is a great example of development. And one last thing, this investment is coming from someone who is part of the community. So this is not a developer coming from outside and not keeping his dollars and investment in the community. So for all the above, I would like to support the resolution.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Any comments or questions from the committee? Seeing any hands up or hearing any questions? I'm so sorry, Councilman Sanchez, please.
Okay. So it's just a statement. I've met Aaron when he first moved into the city. I've also know the impact that positive impact that he's put into that community in that neighborhood. He actually reminds me of my own man. My father, came here from Puerto Rico, poor, to, put himself through some college, established himself, worked hard in the tobacco fields until he opened up his first jewelry store. The difference is that when he opened up that jewelry store, he stayed living in Hartford. He invested in Hartford. He purchased buildings in Hartford. He renovated the buildings. And then when he could have purchased a home in West Hartford or somewhere else, he actually purchased his home in Hartford. And he stayed and invested in Hartford. He spent his money in Hartford. And this is what Aaron reminds me of. And I've seen what he's done in that community. And we need more people like him. So, I personally will be supporting this resolution. I think he's a great asset to the community, but he's also a great asset to Hartford. This is what we need in Hartford, is for people to come in here, purchase, renovate, and live, so they can play and educate and keep it all in Hartford so that we can prosper, so that we can all prosper. And I will leave my comments there. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Councilman Sanchez. We also have been joined by Councilman LeBron. Councilman LeBron, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. To you, Madam Chair. Aaron Gill sounds like a wonderful guy. He sounds phenomenal. Looks like he's done a lot. Mr. Betancourt talked about he has the Midas touch. So my question is, I've never met Aaron Gill, and I was wondering if he was asked to participate. And if he wasn't able to be here because he was busy, I would like to, just have a conversation with him. I'd like to know, King Midas himself. It's fantastic to have people vested in our community. And I frequent the Capitol Ave. I live around the corner, Red Rock, at the ice cream shop and Story and So, and they have the new bakery there. So I'm a fan. So was just curious if number one, if he was asked to be here, and then number two, if not, if his friends can pass along that I'm a fan. I would just like to say hello.
Councilman LeBron, this is a public hearing, and we do have the PD&H committee. The item is on the agenda for July 7th meeting. At that time, Mr. Gill is invited And anyone that's listening is invited to listen to the committee meeting. At that time, you can all ask all the questions as it pertain to the item.
Fully noted. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Next on the agenda to speak is Hode Jin. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm not good at butchering people's names. So if I do, please, I apologize.
No worries. It's Rodi Genie, so pretty close. Thank you.
Genie? Okay. Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Genie.
Thank you so much. I'd like to also speak in support of Aaron Gill and the transfer of 213 over to Aaron and his wife Maya. You know, so much has already been said, and I agree with all of it in terms of the impact that he's had, certainly on the properties and on the community and really the community engagement as well. I am originally from New York and moved up to Connecticut to live in West Hartford, was there for several years and decided that I wanted to be part of a change in Hartford and discovered Frog Hollow and have been a resident the last few years in Frog Hollow and have gotten to know not only the neighborhood and the city better, but have been able to see the changes that Aaron has spent years making here. And it's, you know, I think that the track record that he's had in terms of the properties that he's brought, other blighted properties that he's brought back to life, and the quality of the construction of the properties themselves, you know, it's only an add to really not only Frog Hollow but the city overall. And you know, through his work, not only in his personal properties but also through the NRZ and frankly just kind of volunteering on different things in the neighborhood, it's you know it's another level of engagement, and it has really been a model for me and others to get involved and to get you know, really into the community and finding out ways of how we can help move the neighborhood along. So for all those reasons, and certainly to add to the rest of the folks that have spoken before me, I'm also in favor of the transfer of ownership.
Thank you, Mr. Genie. One of the things I neglected to do as my job as chairperson is I forgot to ask, you're supposed to state your name and your address. Boy, so I would say that, Mr. Genie, you live in the neighborhood, right?
That's correct. I am at 33 Babcock Street.
Great, thank you so very much. I didn't do a good job. Okay. So those are the only speakers we have signed up for our public hearing tonight. Hearing no other speakers or any other questions. Oh, Councilman Jail, please go ahead, sir. You're on mute, Councilman Gale.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. While we were talking, I just want to note I did receive a text message from Aaron Gill, who wanted to tell everybody that he's been listening attentively all night, and he will make himself available to all council members to discuss this at their convenience.
Well, I wanted to tell Mr. Gill, I mean, you know, he's a superstar here tonight. We've got Chelsea, whose family's been in the neighborhood for like decades. You know, we have Mr. Jin, who has just moved in to keep revitalizing our city. You know, I mean, you know, Mr. Becancourt, who has been living here for decades and have invested his time and his working, you know, to better our city and our community. So Mr. Gill, you can tell Mr. Gill that he's just been a superstar.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I apologize for interrupting you, but we do have Mr. Gill online, and he's on the camera.
Mr. Gill, welcome, please. Please, you superstar. I can see what you look like. Awesome.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, or good evening, I should say.
Good evening, sir.
And I apologize. I guess I misunderstood the protocol. My understanding was I was only allowed to talk or present at the subcommittee meeting. So I hadn't actually made an effort to physically call in for this, but have been listening. So so first and foremost, thank you to all my neighbors who took the time to be here and speak out in support of this. So I truly appreciate it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has regarding this and kind of why we're doing this or how. Anything I can offer, I'm happy to.
The public hearing, Mr. Gill, is for anyone in our community to speak on the different items. At the committee level, we get a little bit more in-depth and a little bit deeper. We ask you a lot more questions. The administration at the committee level educate us council members or why they think this is a good item for us to support. So at that time, we will ask all the members of the committee, and I will let you know the committee is made up of myself, Councilman Sanchez, Councilman Bermudez, Council President Rosado, I think, and Councilman Josh Misham. And at that time, at the committee, and Councilman John Gale. And at that time, we normally would get a little bit more deeper in the on that level and asking more information before that items goes back to council. The public hearing is for individuals and your supporters to call in and to let us know why they think we should support this item. And then at the committee level, then we'll take up this item in a little bit more in depth. At that time, we certainly have invited you to the committee meeting. And, I will certainly be asking the questions at the time and ask any council members to get more involved and ask their questions so they can make a reasonable, good decision regarding this item. But we thank you for joining us. I get to see what you look like,
my
as
pleasure.
councilman.
Should I give you the quick kind of maybe three minute Reader's Digest introduction as to
Go right ahead, sir. Councilman Nick LeBron called you the superstar, and he wanted us to hear all about you. So you've got 3 minutes to tell me why you were a superstar.
Well, and Councilman LeBron, I will remind you, we've met kind of pre-COVID, so pre all of this, we have met briefly a couple times. We have been introduced. So, the quick version is my wife and I are transplants. So we moved here back in 2008. And moved here with a 2-year plan, and frankly, pretty quickly fell in love with the city of Hartford. Not necessarily anything else, but the city specifically. And it wasn't that long afterwards that we decided Hartford was going to be home. And after some time, we decided that given my skill set and what we were looking for in a city, we needed to be part of the solution. So we bought our first building on Capitol Avenue. Got our apartment renovated and moved in, started that back in 2013, and then finished the rest of the building, got some wonderful neighbors, Story and Soil, Capital Ice Cream, got to know Chelsea and her family, and many of the other folks, Fernando and many of the other folks here in the block, and kind of thought that was going to be the one thing that we did as kind of our part, and kind of fell into doing more of this. So we have now successfully survived a pandemic and just finished the full gut renovation of 2 more 6-family buildings on Lawrence Street in eyesight of 213, 215 Lawrence. As of last month, those are fully occupied. Got a bunch more wonderful neighbors here. As Chelsea mentioned, we've had a chance to start introducing them to all the businesses here on the block, introducing them to things like the NRC and some of the other ways that folks can get involved, because that is one of the most wonderful things about the city of Hartford. It's big enough that there's lots of stuff to do, but it's small enough that it's really easy to get be a part of the community and be involved with the community. So, we've been working to encourage all of our residents to be a part of Hartford. So I look at 213 every single day. And I have for years, and I have for years been trying to figure out how to eliminate that blighted building from our city. It's a building that most days when I walk past it with my 3-year-old, he looks at me and says, "Dada, how come you don't fix that building too?" So I am, I look like a poor dad in my son's eyes when I say I can't fix it up yet, son, but I'm working on it. So that's really the catalyst of all this is just trying to further eliminate blight from our neighborhood and keep pushing for improvement for myself, my children, and all of my neighbors. And that's really kind of what brought us to this. As Fernando mentioned, I am supposedly, or I believe, the first person in the state to file for receivership, a law that the city pushed for last year. I was a court-appointed receiver and was able to get onto the property for some time, further secure it, get it cleaned up. But this entire time I've been working with development services to try to push and just figure out how we can get the property out of the absentee landlord's hands who's been sitting on this for years doing nothing, and frankly into mine so that I can do something positive with it. So the fastest avenue was the strict foreclosure. The city completed that, and which effectively eliminated my receivership and all of the money that I've invested into the building at this point. But frankly, the understanding has always kind of been that we would be working together such that I can, again, take a blighted property and turn it into something that I think any person on this call would be happy to live in and call home. And that's always been our goal, is that, we would not do an apartment that we wouldn't live in. So that's always been goal number one, and just anxious to do that again, and anxious to be able to tell my son that Dad is now fixing the building, and we're getting there. So that's, I think that's the Reader's Digest version,
Okay.
Chairwoman.
Well, that's a practice for July 7th. So that's great. And happy belated Father's Day.
Thank you.
To you, and tell your dad tell your son he's got a super dad. I'm gonna have to start calling you Superman pursuant to Councilman LeBron statement. This is so funny.
Well, fortunately I have a wonderful community around me. I mean, you look at the faces on this call, and this is just a small snapshot of the amazing neighborhood that we live in. These people are the reason why I can continue to push forward with this, because this frankly is not an easy thing. And there's a lot of people that would walk away, I think. But these people are the reason that we keep moving forward.
Great. Well, thank you again. This is a pre-speech for July 7th. We'll certainly have lots more questions at that time for you and the administration. Any comments, questions from the council person before we close this public hearing of June 21st?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Councilman Sanchez.
Okay, and through you, Madam Chair, I just want to thank Aaron for Mr. Gill for coming on board and introducing himself. I did send him the invite, as soon as I can before it was over, because I think it's important that everyone do have a name, a face to a name. And thank you, Mr. Gill, for everything that you've been doing in that community.
Great. Any other comments, questions, any council person? Hearing or seeing none, I am going to call this virtual public hearing to a close. Councilman LeBron, did I see your hands? You're good? Okay, great. I want to thank all of our guests. I want to thank everyone who came and gave us your opinion on this item. You truly are doing your civic duty by letting us as council people know what your thoughts are in your community that you live. So I applaud you so very much, for coming and talking to us. This is exactly what I look forward to more than anything else as a council person, is the community letting us know their concerns or their positive ideas as far as it concerns an item that we have to vote on. So I commend everyone from Chelsea to Mr. Marcus, to Mr. Bettencourt, and to Mr. Genie. And again, Mr. Gill, thank you so very much for joining us. So at this time, I'm calling to close the public hearing for June 21st, 2021. And thank everyone for joining us tonight. Have a good night and be safe.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.